start.
Hello.
So you have to keep it actually really close. Or else it won't work.
This close?
Yeah, it works. It works. Face को cover नहीं करना.
Hi everyone, I am Tridha Shaw, the current CMO of Azimuth and your host for the TFN podcast. And today with us we have Ayan Seal. He is a physics honors graduate from Calcutta University, and currently he is writing a very interesting book which I would surely like to know about. So Ayan, can you please tell us a bit about your book?
The book actually.
She
I love.
She has a very deep resting face, like.
Yeah. People have told me that. People have told me that. They thought that I was really bitchy.
1, 2, 3, 4, start.
1, 2, 3, 4, get on the desk.
What, bhai?
Why are you wasting time?
पौने 5 बजा.
Okay. So, hi everyone. I am Tridha Shaw. Is this much okay?
No. क्यों?
No one laughs like this. This is not a reality show. Okay. So, hi everyone. I am Tridha Shaw, the current CMO of Azimuth and your host in TFN podcast. And today with us we have Ayan Seal, who is writing a very interesting book on
philosophy.
You just revise. I'll cut it please. And edit it. Okay?
a very interesting
book
book.
on philosophy.
Okay. A very interesting
अरे माइक टा काছে ने শোনা যাচ্ছে না.
a very interesting book on philosophy. So I'm really interested as to what you are going to write. So can you please let us know?
The book actually encompasses a large variety of subjects actually, but it has elements of philosophy related with each and every subject. For example, philosophy, we have physics. For example, it deals with philosophy in certain regions. For example, what is space, what is time, what is cause and effect relations, and how these three together, space, time and causation, give rise to the reality which we experience in daily basis. So that deals with philosophy, our worldview related to that. So this book will actually cover a lot of part regarding that, and the later part actually deals with I wrote on Schrodinger, who was a founding father of quantum mechanics. Okay. So the rest of the book is actually I have a chapter on Schrodinger, Edwin Schrodinger. He was an Austrian physicist. He was regarded, and still he is regarded as one of the pioneers of quantum mechanics. He is the founding fathers of quantum mechanics. So he wrote some of the books regarding consciousness and regarding some metaphysical ideas. For example, does the consciousness intervenes with the process of quantum measurement and collapses the wave function, and how that triggers the reality which we experience. He has cut. The book actually deals with a lot of subjects which has physics, philosophy, and it has aspects of neuropsychology also. But each and every chapter deals with philosophical elements. So for example, we have space, time and cause and effect relations. So and how these three.
For example, तू बोलती है ना, let her ask.
আগে ঠিক করে নে কি বলতে হবে।
আমি তো বলছি তো।
আচ্ছা আমি তার মানে একদম পাতি ইন্ট্রোডাকশন দেব তো।
একদম
পাতি
না পাতি ইন্ট্রোডাকশনের কথা হচ্ছে। 1 2
So, hi everyone, I am Tridha Shaw, the current CMO of Azimuth and your host in the TFN podcast. And today with us we have Ayan Seal, who is writing a very interesting book on philosophy, I suppose. So, I am very interested in it. So, I would like you to elaborate a bit on what you are exactly writing about.
The book deals with elements on philosophy. It has chapters on space, time and cause and effect, and later parts it deals with consciousness, and it has a chapter on Erwin Schrodinger and how he talks a lot about these particular things. in his own books. So that will elaborated in that book.
Okay, so you talked a bit about space and time, right? So, emergent space is a very interesting thing that I have heard about. So, are you writing anything about it, or could you tell me a bit about it?
The first 2 chapters of the book are actually deals with emergent space and what do we mean by emergent space. So the word emergent means when something is collectively emerging from something more deeper. For example, we have hydrogen and oxygen atoms.
কেমন চলবে তাকাবি এদিকে
তাকাবো এদিকে।
যখন তুই এক্সপ্লেন করছিস তাকাবি ওদিকে যখন ও বলছিস
Acha, okay, right. Okay. So, yes, so emergent space is the first 2 chapters of the book. So, emergent space, first of all, we have to understand what is emergent mean. Emergent means when something is emerging from something more deeper and collectively. So, for example, I will give a very interesting example, which is we have hydrogen and oxygen atoms, and when they form when they come close together, they form hydrogen and oxygen atoms, which we call hydrogen and oxygen molecules, which are hydro-oxygen molecules. We can cut. আমি বেশি ডিপে চলে যাচ্ছি না কেটাতে আমি আমার ফার্স্ট কাটা হয়ে গেছে এটা ভুল হচ্ছে সো এমার্জেন্ট দ্য ওয়ার্ড এমার্জেন্ট মিনস সামথিং ইজ কালেক্টিভলি emerging from something more deeper. So we have, for example, water. Water is a substance and we know we interact with it in daily basis. So what is water basically? Water is made up of tiny molecules of hydrogen and oxygen atoms. And when we have a lot of these molecules, they collectively form the behavior that we call water. So if we have very little amount of water molecules, then that will not explain the phenomena of water. So in order to have water, we have to have millions of molecules of water. So in this way, we can say the water phenomena is an emergent phenomena. It's in the same way, the space is also emerging from something more deeper. In that sense, I have read the chapter, and it has implications regarding that.
Okay, so you just said it has implications regarding it. What exact implications are you referring to?
The first implication, which is very important to physics and philosophy, which is that if there is something more
implication 1 blah 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 implication 2
ওরম ভাই হয় না ওরম মেকানিক্যাল লাগবে মনে হবে কেউ এটা লিখে দিয়েছে ওটা কেউ বলছে ওরম হয় না
Podcasts don't work that way.
ওরম হয় না
বোঝাতে যাস না
তো কী করবো
লেটার আস
ও তো বললো কি করে
I just asked.
no you ask is fine
আমি আবার ভুলে গেলাম কি বলছিলাম what are the implications?
Yeah.
So emergent phenomena has very deep implications in philosophy as well as in physics and all diverse forms of knowledge. So first of all, when we say space is emergent, so there is a deeper chance that space is emerging from much more deeper structure. Now, we do not know actually what that structure is, but we know that there has to be a structure from which space is collectively emerging. Just like water, we have different molecules of water and they are coming together in close proximity, and from that the emergent behavior of water is coming out. In the same way, space is also emerging from something more deeper underlying. So it has implications. For example, if we can manipulate the structures of space, the deep structure of space, then maybe we can extract energy in future by harness energy, or we can manipulate the structure of space-time. In that sense, it has very practical implications.
Okay, so that was quite interesting. When you are saying that space is coming out of something deeper, first I would like to ask you about space. When you are referring to space, are we referring to the entire universe, or is it mostly outside of the solar system? Is that what you are referring to? What exactly are we talking about here?
Okay. When we talk about space, I'm talking about space in general. Here also, when we are doing podcast, right now, here in between us, there is space. Even the atoms have 99.99% of space. And Rutherford has experiments confirming that atom is basically space. It fills with space. And now modern science says that space is empty. So every phenomena like light and electromagnetic radiations, everything is going through this empty space. Now current particle physics and accelerators are in Geneva in CERN. They are actually revealing a deeper thing, which is that maybe this empty space, the so-called empty space, it has energy filling it. It's just that it has different properties. That is why we have a very we have a lot of problems regarding measuring that sort of properties. So space has properties and it has very complex properties, and that is why in order to understand those properties, we need a very large particle accelerator, which is enormously big. It has to be more bigger than CERN's particle accelerator. So in that way, maybe in future we will be able to understand the deeper structure of space. And space meaning everything has space, right? So yeah, in that sense I'm talking about.
Okay, so you talked about the space between atoms per se not being actually empty.
Inside the atoms.
Inside the atoms, okay.
And everywhere is space, basically.
Okay, so you just said that the insides of atoms, which is said that it's 99% empty, it may not be empty.
Yes.
So if it's not empty and if there is some kind of energy, what is it? Can you go a bit deeper on this topic, because it's quite interesting and I would like to know a bit more about it?
So Rutherford says that in his experiments with a foil which can hit alpha particles, and atoms are getting detected at the measurement device, and it revealed that space is 99 empty space is there inside atoms. But now we have different experiments revealing that space has energy. And what kind of energy is that? First of all, I will talk about general theory of relativity a little. It reveals that similarly, space is full of energy. Now, generally the measurement device told us that the amount of energy inside the space is very little actually. But quantum field theory, on the other hand, it predicts a very large value for the energy. So according to quantum field theory, it has a very large energy, and according to general theory of relativity, it has very small energy. We call it cosmological constant or dark energy, but in different theories have different names. For example, we call it in fluid mechanics, we call it fluidic space, where it has energy associated with it. We call it Higgs superfluid. Some of you may have heard about that CERN in 2013. It found the Higgs boson particle, the God particle. Yeah. So the God particle is basically, now we are speculating in this general idea about space, is that maybe the Higgs boson is actually a kind of an excitation or a vibration in an energy which is filling all space. We call it Higgs field. So Higgs field has properties of fluid, it has properties of energy, which has very complex properties. And in that way, we know now that inside atoms, it is Higgs field which is penetrating and filling all the empty vacuum. So vacuum is not really empty, it is filled with stuff. And we do not know the actual properties of the stuff. So in that sense,
Okay, great. So you mentioned two very important theories. One is general theory of relativity and the second is quantum field theory. Yeah. So both of them have quite contradictory implications. So since you are a student of physics itself, can you tell me which theory do you think is more correct, or which one do you think has actual implications in real life scenarios?
Okay. So for me, I think the theories regarding condensed matter physics is most important. Let me just elaborate what condensed matter means. It just means the physics of materials. Anything which is material and we know we want to know, or we will know in future about its certain properties, and that sort of knowledge deals with condensed matter physics. So for example, water is a condensed state, we have ice which is a condensed state, we have different materials like silicon which has condensed properties. So any medium which has, or any substance which has properties, we deal in condensed matter physics. So similarly, I think the theory which is very important here, I think condensed matter physics will actually reveal to us that space has properties, because space in fact is a material. It has properties of a substance, but we do not know, because in order to look for those properties, we have to zoom in a very tiny regions of space. And for that, we need extremely high energies, which is only capable of in doing, sorry, এটা cut করবি. So it is the ভুলে গেলাম লাইনটা, আবার কাট কর, 1 2 3 start. Okay. So in order to look for properties in space, just like we see properties in materials, we need to close very আবার কাট কর. In order to see the properties of space, we need to look for very tiny regions of space. Because if you look very distant scale regions of space, then you will not see anything. Just like when you see water at a very long length scale, you only see that it has a flowing behavior, it has properties of a substance, it has viscosity, it flows, it has temperature. But when you see very close regions, very tiny regions, then you see the atoms, then you see the molecules, and you see the intervening processes of energies right there. So in the same way, if we are able to look very closely in a very small regions of space, then I think we will see that space, inside space, there is some phenomena or some interactions that are happening microscopically, which are not able to reveal itself, because it is a property of very tiny regions. So for that, we need a very big particle accelerator which is capable of probing energy into very tiny spaces. And if we do that, then the properties, the microscopic properties of space, which are happening right now also, it will reveal to us. And that way, I think we will understand the deep structure of space.
That's quite interesting. So basically what you are trying to say is that we need to do our research on a microscopic level, yes, to actually understand what things are going and how it's happening. But sometimes we also have to think big, like Schrodinger. You said that you are also writing something related to Schrodinger. Someone who likes to think big and someone who did a very, very famous thought experiment. So what do you have to say about that?
So from the microscopic theories to the macroscopic theories, because Schrodinger's equations reveals that it is a macroscopic phenomena. For example, he said space has a wave function, and wave function is basically a disturbance in the space, if you want to understand it in a very physical terms. But he said that, look, that wave function is not physical. He said it is an abstract mathematical construct. He said that in his theories, that wave function is not a physical thing, just like water, just like space or empty space. So it is an abstract mathematical construct which we call wave function. In that sense, it is a microscopic phenomena, which is a large scale phenomena. But if we want to go from the microscopic to the macroscopic, I think the jump will be a problem of energy in that sense, because microscopic regions deals with high energies, macroscopic phenomena deals with lower energies and stable energies. So in that sense, we have to understand the phase transition, meaning a transition from a small phase to a large scale space and phase. And in that sense, we will understand that these macroscopic phenomena are more important than microscopic, because basically we are macroscopic beings, right? We have length, breadth, and height. We are 3D beings. We are in space, so we are macroscopic. But in the same time, inside the atoms there are microscopic phenomena. So what I'm saying is that microscopic phenomena are organizing and they are giving birth to a more bigger thing which we call macroscopic, and that in the same way giving birth to higher and higher macroscopic laws. So from the tiny we are getting bigger and bigger. So that is the way I think Schrodinger's eventually derived his wave function equations from the microscopic understandings of space.
Okay, so that was quite interesting. So from microphysics to macrophysics to us human beings. So I read about something very, very interesting, and I read this exact sentence that I like to read out. Does consciousness collapse wave function? So it is a very, very interesting thing. And what do you have to say about this?
As I said, consciousness is a reality which is macroscopic because we are macroscopic beings. But on the other hand, wave function is also something which is macroscopic. But what is the relation between consciousness and wave function? It is debatable, and there are large amount of theories and implications in quantum mechanics which has been written by several physicists. Schrodinger is one of them. I will say another two famous physicists who actually said that maybe consciousness and wave function is related. The first physicist is Neumann-Wigner, and another is von Neumann. So these two physicists said, and they have a theory actually, a proper theory, which suggests that consciousness is intervening the process of quantum measurement, and that way it collapses the wave function. So Schrodinger, first of all, he criticized this notion that maybe it is not happening, maybe something is more deeper happening inside space which is collapsing the wave function. And he asked a question that if human beings having human-like consciousness can collapse the wave function, can cats also similarly collapse the wave function, because they are ultimately sentient beings? So the question is, the deeper philosophical question is, can different set of sentient beings by their constant observation can collapse the wave function? And Neumann and Wigner, both of them said that it is possible. And Schrodinger, on the other hand, he first of all he criticized the notion, but eventually in his later books, in My View of the World and his Mind and Matter, which has been published in the Cambridge University, in those lectures we find that eventually Schrodinger acknowledged the fact that maybe it is consciousness which is intervening the process of wave functions.
So you talked about sentient beings influencing the wave function, and how if humans can do it, can even cats do it. So is that what actually led to the Schrodinger's cat experiment, or was it something completely different?
So it is a thought experiment, because 90% of the people thinks, oh, Schrodinger tortured a cat. So Schrodinger did not actually capture the cat and he put that thing inside a box and he tortured him and killed him. No, it's all in the mind. It's a thought experiment. And in physics and philosophy, we have vast numbers of thought experiments. Now, Schrodinger said that if I put the cat inside the box and make it completely sealed, and there is some measurement is happening inside the box where there is an acid bucket and it has radioactive material, and when the cat interact with the environment inside the box, that triggers the radioactivity, and that radioactivity will be detected at the detector, and that detector will eventually hit the cyanide palette and it will go to the acid bucket and it will eventually kill the cat. So it's a long process. So Schrodinger said that what is that thing which is killing the cat? It is his. Its observation, or is it some radioactivity which is killing the cat? Now there is a debate which between physicists, and till now in seminars this debate is very much into human conversation domain, which is that maybe consciousness is not interacting with the wave function, according to Schrodinger. He said that radioactivity is basically a quantum mechanical phenomena, which means it has probability of 50% decaying and 50% not decaying. So according to quantum mechanics, everything has a probability of 50-50%. So either the cat inside the box actually is killed by its observation, or it is there, or it is a in-between state between alive and dead. So it is very paradoxical. So Schrodinger said the cat inside the box is dead and at the same time it is alive. And also other physicists also said the same thing. But Schrodinger eventually asked a very fundamental question. He said, how is it possible that the cat is alive and dead at the same time in a paradoxical sense inside the box? So it goes against our human logic. How can that thing be happening inside the box? So in order to solve the problem, he said, inside the box, when you make a measurement or you open the box to see if the cat is alive or dead, by that measurement or by that observation, you eventually kill the cat. And prior to that, maybe the cat is living. Who knows? So it is an open problem. We call it the consciousness collapse problem, or the general understanding in quantum mechanics. We have a term which is Copenhagen interpretation, in which the question is asked again and again, which is to say that if consciousness in intervening the process of the wave function and collapsing and killing the cat, or the wave function splitting itself into distinct realities, where the cat in a distinct reality is alive, and at the distinct reality it is alive and dead, and also it is alive and dead. So it has set of probabilities. So quantum mechanics deals with lot of probabilities, and it does not give you the answer in a concrete way, just like we have concrete answer in Newton and in Einsteinian mechanics, where they have only one answer. But in quantum mechanics, we have a set of problems and set of answers. So one observation may have millions and millions of probabilities. So in that way, we cannot tell if the cat is dead or alive, or it is dead and alive at different realities. So it is a very deep.
That's quite interesting. Can I add something to the script? You said this cat being alive and dead at the same time, and you said, and you also said na कि Vedanta philosophy के ऊपर भी you are writing. So the part that I want to add is that this person Shankaracharya, he had this concept of mithya, where he said mithya is actually something that is neither truth nor false.
It is
So-
in between Sat and Asat.
Yeah, and jag mithya hai. So can I add this part into this discussion?
You can add anything you want. You are the CMO. Why you are asking?
I'm just saying, okay. So, 3, 2. Okay, so that was quite interesting. And you talked about the cat being alive and dead at the same time. This reminds me a very, very interesting thing said by one of our gurus, Adi Shankaracharya, who said something that mithya is neither truth nor false, and that jag mithya hai, that the world is mithya. So the world exists and does not exist at the same time. So what do you have to say about that, and how do you feel about this, that the ancient gurus of India, what they talked about is actually something that relates to this Schrodinger's experiment?
So, as I said, Schrodinger, when he was getting old, he wrote books on consciousness and free will and philosophy. And in those books, I will name the books. First of all, My View of the World. It is a very famous book. You should read about it. In that book, he has a chapter called Vedantic Vision. And in that chapter, he goes through a set of questions which deals with metaphysics and philosophy. First of all, just like she said that maybe Adi Shankaracharya is related, or his theories regarding reality is somehow influencing the Western minds. In that, he actually clarifies this notion, in which he says that the Sankhya philosophy and the Vedanta philosophy, especially the non-dual Vedanta, the Advaita Vedanta, these two only shows a direct parallel between the implications of quantum mechanics. So in that way, he opens up a new understanding of physics and philosophy of physics. He said that maybe there is a chance that consciousness is singular, it is one thing, it is everywhere, and that is interacting directly with each and every phenomena. So it is not that I has consciousness or she has consciousness. Consciousness is not plural. One thing is pervading each and every place in space and time, and that thing is interacting with each and every phenomena. So Schrodinger in that book raises a question in which he asked that if Vedanta says or Sankhya says that consciousness is fundamental, then what becomes of the world? What happens to the world? What is the essence of the world ultimately? Is this a virtual reality? He does not use the word virtual reality. He said the old word, which is Maya. Is the world Maya? Is this world is only a conceptual construct of our own minds? He said that it is possible, but he also said in no way you can determine in laboratory or through experiments that it is happening. So it is an open question, which I'm saying right now. It is an open question, and it has different set of philosophers who are from time to time trying to solve this mystery of the consciousness and the world being a virtual kind of reality. In fact, in philosophy, in Western philosophy, we have a name who said that the world is actually a virtual reality. His name is Nick Bostrom. And he, first of all, coined the term, the world is a matrix. And now it is all famous. So in that way, I think the Western world is being influenced by time to time by the Eastern metaphysical concepts, which has been going forth to the Western sides and influencing the minds of people. In fact, we know that Schrodinger and Niels Bohr, both of them used to read the Upanishads, and it is documented in their writing. I will just, to end this answer, I will just say that Fritjof Capra, please understand, it is a very difficult name, Fritjof Capra, he is a Austrian mathematics and a physicist. He wrote a book called Tao of Physics. You should read about that book. In that book, he has different chapters. First chapter is on Hinduism. He said directly that Niels Bohr and the pioneers of quantum mechanics, they used to read about the text of Upanishads. And they were heavily influenced. In fact, Einstein also, when he was in Germany, Rabindranath Tagore actually went there for his Gitanjali and all his achievement. He was there in the Berlin, and somewhere I think in Einstein house they met, and we have a properly documented conversation between Einstein and Rabindranath Tagore, where Einstein also said the same thing. If consciousness is fundamental, then how can you make sense of the world that you are seeing and observing? So is this a virtual reality? Again, Einstein didn't use the word virtual reality. He said, what is the world? And Rabindranath Tagore said in a very poetic way that maybe when you are not looking at something, that thing is behaving in a different manner. And when you're seeing something, that observation alone is making a construct which is giving you a perception of the world. So our perception are basically our own observations.
Okay, so from emergent space to Vedanta philosophy, quite a journey your book has kept us in. So now what I'd like to talk about, since we are talking about consciousness, there is also one big question these days, since AI is emerging, I have seen a lot of people contemplate whether to say this in public or not. They feel quite embarrassed to ask this question. Um, do you think AI has consciousness? And if your answer is yes, then why? And if your answer is no, then I would like to ask, do you think it will have consciousness in future?
I will straight up answer this particular question because it is a very broad question. It has different implications, but I will just say yes or no. I think no, consciousness is not in AI, and it is not even possible to make a machine, even AI, to make it things do just like we humans do. Now, so many physics and philosophers will say that no, because according to the materialist philosophers and materialistic scientists, they say that consciousness is a computation. It is emerging, just like I use the word emergence. They said that consciousness is emerging from computations of matter and silicon and how electricity is interacting with each other. And from the complex behavior of these patterns, the consciousness somehow emerges. Somehow. They actually do not know. Now, in physics and philosophy, there is a very famous philosopher. His name is David Chalmers. David Chalmers said in philosophy that this problem, whether AI can be conscious or not, or if human consciousness is fundamental or not, or is it something emerging from some computation, he said this is a hard problem of consciousness. So you cannot say in which neuron, in which part of the brain there is consciousness. And yet at the same time, when these things comes together, consciousness operates. Just like we are talking, we have consciousness, we are talking and seeing everything right now. But how that thing is happening, how that thing is operating is not knowable. Until and unless I think there are experiments regarding neuroscience which says that inside brains there is something more deeper which is interacting with everything else, and that way I think we'll be able to discern in future whether humans or AI can have consciousness, or this problem will eventually will come to an end. But for now I don't think that AI is conscious in the way we actually conscious. I don't think AI is
How would
conscious.
you answer to a question like, for example, if I say that humans or maybe any brain, any conscious brain can actually manipulate the quantum fluctuations in order to start thinking about something. Like thought process happens in a thread, right?
So you are asking that if consciousness is related with quantum fluctuations.
If consciousness is the only thing which is capable in the universe to calibrate quantum fluctuations,
Okay.
how would you reply to that?
That is a very big question. That question will require a complete new episode.
Exactly. What I-
Yeah,
what-
let's leave it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can discuss this later in the next episode, I think.
Yeah, we will discuss that. But how would you reply it in a initial phase before next Sunday arrives?
I think for me, I have done a lot of philosophy. So I think there is deeper things happening inside matter which we do not understand. And the day we will understand the interactions happening microscopically inside matter, I think that alone will reveal to you that whether consciousness is fundamental or not, or there is a connection between quantum fluctuations and matter or consciousness. So I think these things, space, time, brain, consciousness, even quantum fluctuations, these things are not separate things. If you understand one thing in a deep way, that thing will open up itself to another implication. And that way, I think eventually we will understand everything in a cohesive way. So, yeah.
Okay, so
Done, like एक outro कर दो.
AI का नहीं होगा.
तो क्या कर रहे थे? आधा 40 मिनट हो गया.
यही बोलना, यही एक लास्ट यही टाइम बोलना.
तो मेरे को बहुत काटना पड़ेगा.
মেন পার্টগুলো কাটিস না, যেখানেতে মেন উত্তরগুলো আছে ওগুলো কাটিস না, তুই ছোটো 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 করে রাখ, একটু কনসাইজ কর, কিন্তু কাটিস না কিছু।
না না, এটা বাদ দিব না।
So, this was quite a journey. We discussed emergent space. From that, we talked about consciousness, collapsing wave function. We went to Vedanta philosophy.
Tridha, the appendix should be like this. We take 1, 2, 3.
So, that was quite interesting. This was very fun. We discussed a lot of things from physics to somewhat towards psychology. As a person who listens to a lot of podcasts myself, we see a podcast that talk about certain subjects, but in an isolated manner. I have never really heard of any podcast which talks about things that lead us to have existential crisis at 3 a.m. So, all the things that we discussed, one of the things that we discussed was about consciousness and whether we really do exist or not. Are we even virtual? Are we real or not? So, these questions lead us to have another big question is what to do with this life? What are we supposed to do? Are we real or not? And if we are real, what should we do? If we are not real, what is this life for? So for that, we will come here, sit and discuss day by day, episodes by episodes, on what really needs to be done.
And I think you should close up the podcast with the next day's topic.
Yeah. So, yeah. What really should be done? So, that is it for today. And I think a more elaborated discussion on AI and consciousness is something that we are going to discuss in our next episode. So, please keep following us so you can have a bit of insight on what we are discussing here. So, that's it from my side. Thank you so much. And that's it.
Like, welcome from TFN or something, like, welcome towards TFN or something like that. The company name is not. Is the recording? You can just. Anyway.
Yeah, so keep following us so that you can get a bit of insight into our discussions. And to end this, do you have anything to say for us?
I would say just closing statements. I think this company TFN is doing great. It has a very interesting philosophy, which is that they are applying things in real life, extracting from different sects of knowledge. And I think as a person who writes on philosophy and different psychological aspects, I think this company is extracting from me a lot of stuff, and in order to apply them in the real life, and that is, I think, should be the goal for every company, because at the end of the day, we are dealing with the real world and the real practical world, and in order to do that, we think that there has to be a knowledge source from where we are extracting that thing to apply in our real life. So yeah, so this company is doing great.
Thank you so much. And that is it for today. Keep following us and meet you in the next episode.